Plus, an Al-Qaeda publication last month described a scenario just like the one we saw unfold in Boston yesterday. What are we to make of that? International terror expert Steve Emerson joins us live right after the break on it.
Operator to the UCC.
Got a possible device at 671 Boylston. Possible device.
Superintendent, notify FBI and state police SWAT teams that the rally point is going.
Well, emerging from the horrors of yesterday's Boston bombing are incredible stories of compassion, as folks do whatever they can to try to help those who suffered and make things easier in the coming days. Check out this photo. That's New England Patriots offensive lineman Joe Andruzzi actually carrying a wounded woman to get her some help. He was greeting runners near the finish line when the blast went off. He rushed in to help. This as airlines at Boston's Logan International Airport waive fees for travelers who are forced to change their flight plans after people from around the world poured in for the city's famous marathon. Good for them. Well, as you heard Catherine Herridge report at the top of the hour, the intelligence community is saying there were no warnings of any kind leading up to these bombings. But that does not rule out international involvement. The most recent version of Al-Qaeda's propaganda magazine calls for exactly this style of attack by loners, by lone sympathizers. Is this something investigators are looking at right now? Steve Emerson is the founder of the Investigative Project on Terrorism. And with me now, Steve, they recommended exactly this kind of thing, hitting a sporting event, and it was by Al-Qaeda strategist Abu Musab al-Suri. And so do we believe that this is something they'll look into and could prove if it's potentially connected?
Well, not only did they issue those type of scenarios, but they also issued a magazine called Inspire that was founded by Anwar al-Awlaki, the late Anwar al-Awlaki, that had a whole issue on how to create explosives in your kitchen. And they were designed to make sure that lone wolves could do it. Now, having said that, the Al-Qaeda modus operandi is to hit large numbers of people. Concentrations that are in New York Times Square, are on airplanes, buses, stadiums, trains. This didn't do that. And also, we're back to square one in terms of suspects because the Saudi suspect has been ruled out. Even though they did a search warrant, he's been cooperating, and they have found nothing in his apartment.
I don't know that he's. I haven't heard that, Steve, that he's been ruled out. What we heard earlier was that they had no hits based on the evidence that they received so far. They said he was cooperating, but I didn't hear officially that he had been ruled out yet.
I heard that from a senior law enforcement source about a half hour ago, that was the words he ruled out. That was the words he used, that he was ruled out.
Well, that is a significant development if it is the case. So,
if it is the case.
Then let me ask you, Steve, how do they go about? I mean, obviously, in the wake of 9/11 and everything we've seen since, I think most Americans' mind goes to Al-Qaeda or Al-Qaeda affiliated or inspired groups when they see something like this. But how do we go about proving it?
Well, it's very difficult. First of all, claims of responsibility. As Catherine pointed out, there hasn't been a claim of responsibility. It doesn't mean there won't be in the future, or it doesn't mean there hasn't been on an obscure Al-Qaeda website. And the NSA is going through lots of these sites, as well as going through signal intelligence intercepts that they, in the last several weeks, that may have referred to some type of bombing. They also have access to all the video cameras that are new, basically, in the last decade in cities across the United States, especially in Boston, in commercial videos as well as municipal videos, so they can see who might have planted the bomb. They're also going to all the pharmacy stores, all the chemical stores, all the stores that might sell improvised explosives to see who might have purchased them. And also the actual fragments, which were nails and ball bearings, which is a hallmark, by the way, of jihadist suicide bombings. Those seem to have been purchased in the United States. They're going to try to find that out. So they've got a lot of tools to work with, but a lot of legwork and a lot of shoe work to go through.
Yeah, and on the other hand, you have a week in which historically we've had, unfortunately, more than our fair share of domestic terrorism. You know, April 19th, from Columbine to Waco, at the Oklahoma City bombing, and so on. So, there is a possibility it's not a foreign jihadist group. But, Steve, I mean, what does it tell you? If it is an Al-Qaeda inspired or linked or, jihadist type group behind this, what does it say to you?
Well, remember that those domestic extremist groups, the white extremist groups, or individuals used guns to carry out their attacks, and then they committed suicide or they were caught. This is the first time
Oklahoma
since
City was a truck bomb.
That's actually very true. But this is the first time since 9/11 that an actual bombing has occurred successfully. The FBI is protected, and the United States with a protection rate of 98%, infiltrating all of the Islamic terrorist groups and other groups to stop these types of bombings.
That is so important to remember because it's so disconcerting on a day like this. Go ahead.
Well, look, it's easy. They targeted a very high-profile, event that was guaranteed to get attention. That is a classic case of terrorism, but more likely people with a political motive. Again, the bomb signature, which is very critical, is going to be taken apart piece by piece, and they have individuals who are real experts on this.
And let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question because we're coming up against the end, and I want to get this in. Yesterday, there were all sorts of reports about at least two bombs that they found that weren't detonated that they had, and that would be a treasure trove of information. Now, those reports were rebuffed today by the authorities saying it's not true. We don't have any undetonated bombs that we found. But let me just say, Steve, yesterday, the organization is reporting that cited a senior U.S. intelligence official. It was somebody on the Homeland Security Committee who said two other unexploded devices were found. Somebody citing a Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms explosives expert who said two additional devices were found. And so I just ask you whether you accept today's turnaround on that as just, what happens, or whether we need to be a little suspicious. I
think we have to be a little bit cautious in accepting those statements, because it wouldn't be beyond the realm of good forensic work to deny the existence of undetonated bombs, which would clearly provide a much better signature on how it was constructed and who constructed it. So I could see them recanting on that, deliberately designed to try to find the bomber. I think they will find them. I am positive, to tell you the truth, considering all the events, all the investigations I've worked on, and all the investigations the FBI has. They will do it in the next 36 hours.
We all hope you're right. Steve Emerson, always glad to get your information and your expertise. Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome.
Well, we're told that around 175 people were hurt yesterday, 17 critically, 3 were killed. But there's another kind of injury after an attack like this that spreads much faster.